Well, let's get to the Syrian kings. Yeah, I was reading something, that very first paragraph in the book. It says, the capital of ancient Assyria was Nineveh. It was located near modern Mosul in Iraq, about 220 miles north of Baghdad, and 433 miles northeast of Damascus, Syria. What's the first thing that jumps out when you read that paragraph? Nothing, huh? Okay.
Some of the names are the same as they are today.
Okay. I was thinking Nineveh, because Jonah went to Nineveh. And I said, well, I thought to myself, and I was reading that today, when did that happen? When did Jonah go to Nineveh? Because now they're all about, they're tearing up the Israel kingdom. Well, it turned out that Jonah went about, I want to say 30 to 50 years before this happened. He was in Nineveh preaching to the people, and they repented. And they became God-fearing and in respect. I reckon they did, because God relented on what he was going to do to Nineveh. And now 50 years later, I think God's using Nineveh to take out his wrath on the Israelite. So I think it was, we have captivity started around 734, somewhere about 734 BC. And Jonah was in Nineveh around 758, 750, something like that. So about 20 years before this happened, Jonah's out there preaching to them. And I thought that was that's kind of a twist. You know, you think about, well, he preached to them and they all repented. But 20 years later, here they are, they're attacking. They're taking over. They're taking and exiling the Israelites, the northern kingdom. So I thought to myself, that's just, what can you compare that today? I mean, you think about who was president 20 years from now, 20 years ago. Think hard. I can't remember either. I think it was it Trump?
No.
He was in 2016. Was he 2016?
One of the Bush.
That would be 10 years, wouldn't it? I didn't do the math right. Okay. 06. I don't even know where I was in 06. George W. Okay. So from the time Bush was president till now, things have changed.
Yes.
Things have changed a lot. So you think, okay, with the time Jonah preached to Nineveh, and he's right. We've done wrong, and they all repented. Until now, who's the most evil? Was it Assyria, Nineveh, or is it Samaria and Israel? Think about that. I mean, who would be more displeasing to God in a way I'm thinking of it is Israel was more displeasing because they were supposed to be the children of God, the tribe, the called out ones from Egypt, the ones that he's led by the hand through the wilderness. And now look at them. Assyria never did pledge allegiance to God in a sense, but here they are. They're being used. They're being used by God to take out his wrath on Israel. Just 20 years, maybe 30 years after everything got, and they said it was like 130 years before God finally took Assyria out. Because I think they said it was in 600 something. Well, because he said that he would relent in destroying Nineveh, but he didn't say he was never going to do it. So it was like 130 years after Jonah, Nahum went there, and it was, you're done. So it was just a matter of time before he did what he said he would do. But 20 years, 30 years after they repented, they're taking out the Israelites. I thought that jumped out at me in that very first Nineveh. Wow. That was the capital. And things change in 20 or 30 years. So this country here is not what it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago. It's definitely not what it was 100 years ago. So some things are better, some things are not. I don't remember it when 100 years ago, by the way. I'm just making a statement there. Okay, so we have 745 to 727 is Tiglath-Pileser, the first Assyrian king that maybe kind of put his eyes on Israel. And it wasn't a total thing. We go in and take them over. It was a kind of a nipping. Just go in there and take a little bit, just attacking the fringe area of the country. And it took like 10 years, 10 to 20 years from the time Tiglath started it to where I think it was Sennacherib. It might have been, I think it was Sargon. He finished it, and that was in 705. So that's 45 years, 40 years from the time Tiglath saw it, decided he wanted some of that, take a little bit, and 40 years later, all the people are gone. They never come back. That's the one thing that just grabs you. You think about, they were gone, they were put in exile, taken to another country, and they're never coming back. Never. You know, whatever you had back in Israel is somebody else's. You have nothing. You're in this country now. You're never going back. That's, you know, even in World War II, there was countries that were taken over and they got to come back. They got rebuilt. They're world powers today. But Israel, they were taken away. That part of Israel, you know, we still have Judah, but they're not coming back. God, no, you're done. It's over. That's not happening anymore. God was done with those people, those leaders. And by, I think it said, let's see, doesn't give a date. Yeah, Sargon, 724 to 722 was when it's finished. So yeah, it was more like 20 years because he ruled from 722 to 705, but in around 722 is when he took over and finished taking over Israel. So it was only 20 years from the beginning to the end. That's not a lot of time, you know, to lose an entire country, you know. So they were all in the same family of sorts. I think Sargon and Salmanassar was the son of Tiglath, and then Sargon was a leader in the army that took over when Salmanassar died. I think he died in battle, and then Sargon took over, and then Sennacherib took over from him. So, yes, it's done, and it's like God has had enough of that. They won't honor God. They won't do what God's law says. What was the main thing that took them out? The one sin that took them out faster than anything. I think so. Who said that? Idolatry, yes. They had other gods before God. You will have no other gods before me. You will fear no other. They feared Baal. They would actually take their kids and put them through the fire of the idol Molech. That's burning your kids alive in a fire for a sacrifice to an idol. That's how much you had to have a lot of fear for that idol to do something that crazy. This is the stuff that went on. And this is what God had enough. We're done. But what did he do for the people for 100 years probably? He sent the prophets, more prophets. People preached to them. You got to change it. Well, you need to get this right. You need to change your ways. Preach to the kings. Didn't help. For years and years and years, he sends prophets. Go preach to them. They won't listen. So that was, God gives you a chance. How does it say in the New Testament? He wishes that all would come to repentance. He wants everybody to be saved. He doesn't want to condemn anybody. Why would he give the Israelites chances and chances and chances and send people to preach to them and tell them what they need to quit doing and start doing the right thing and keep doing that? Because he actually loved those people. He cared for them, but he can't stand sin.
You know, I think that God could do anything to make them afraid and worship him. You know, he could have, you know, destroyed every idol. I mean, we've seen the things that God can do, and he could just scare them to death in every way possible to scare them and fear him that way. But he wanted them to love him.
It has to be free will. It has to be from the heart. If he makes us love him, you have no choice in the matter, then you're a robot. And that goes back to what he preached about Sunday night. Right? Yeah. It's just, you have no will, you have your choice in the matter. You will love me. Well, I'll destroy if you don't love me. I love you then. Do I? No, that's just, yeah, that's what God has provided for it. What has God provided for us today? Everything we need. I'm not even talking about this world. I'm talking about this world and spiritually. Everything we need, he has given us to be acceptable to him.
Yeah, that's long suffering too. I mean, when you think about it, that's just...
It's long suffering, but it's not...
Long suffering.
It's long suffering, but it's not everlasting suffering. God has a limit. I mean, look at Noah. The people became evil continuously. And how long did Noah build on that ark and preach to people while he's building on that ark?
120 years.
120 years. You need to change that. It didn't help. But God gave them a chance. You know, look at Israel. He did the same thing. He did it with Judah. Judah finally, it was several years later, Judah finally fell to the same things that Israel fell to. So they were just slower. They had more good kings. I don't think that the tribe of Israel had any good kings, period. They had a few good. Jehu was the only one that he killed the family of Ahab. But he didn't say he was a king. I don't think he was. Was he a king? Jehu. I don't think he was. Because I think Ahab's son took over after Ahab was. Anyway, it's just, you don't have any good leadership, and it falls downhill. The leadership, it guides everything. You know, that goes for their country, that goes for our country, that goes for the church right today. The leadership makes everything. Without it, so, okay, let's, the Assyrian gods. You know, what I like about this lesson here is the fact they have so much archaeological, said that word right, evidence that shows this is not a Bible story, this is a history story that the Bible recites. And they've got the people, they've got the right names, they've got, yes, sir.
Jehu was the 10th king of the northern kingdom of Israel.
Okay,
He
I was.
ruled for 28 years from between 841 and 814 BC, founded one of Israel's longest lasting dynasties.
Okay, I was incorrect. I know he destroyed Ahab, and he also said he destroyed Ahab's family, got rid of all that junk, I guess would be the way to put it, trash, whatever you want to call Ahab. But he turned around, he didn't completely get rid of idolatry in the country. And what does it say about every one of the kings? That he continued in the sin of Jeroboam. That's the sad part right there. Jeroboam started it, he dug a hole and they never got out of it. They never crawled out of that hole. So, but this all is in history. This is all, it's not something we're just reading and we're proud of it because it's in the Bible. This is in history, in clay tablets they've dug up. This is in different things that were historical, and it was basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It was ledgers stating what they did. And it's got the names and the cities that they took over. And They're bragging about it, and it goes right along what the Bible said happened. So that's the best part about this whole lesson, is the fact that it's not just a Bible lesson. This is history that the Bible coincides with.
What gets me is not just Jehu, but a lot of the kings. There's a few good kings, but most of the kings would come in. If they would clean house, they would get rid of the idols, but they would always leave the high place.
Yep.
They'd always leave something. Wouldn't totally eradicate everything. I mean, I think Hezekiah did, a couple of good ones did, but most of them left something there.
They left you leave a trace. That's an impurity. When I was doing certified welds in the power plant, impurities is not acceptable. They would x-ray that weld, and if there's any impurities in there, you go back and you cut that weld out and you start over. And it's the same thing with religion. Honor God. You don't honor God with an impure religion. It has to be pure. And if they got rid of most of the stuff, well, you still got impurities in the system. And it's never going to be perfect because we're humans. But they were making a half-hearted effort. If you don't get rid of the stuff, the high places, that's where they burned incense. And what did they burn incense to on the high places?
False gods.
False gods. They tore down the idols, but they still burnt incense to the false gods on the high places. And what were the high places? The mountaintops, different places? I believe it was. So they didn't get rid of all of it. I guess they didn't want to offend their family totally. Grandpa did this, and I really don't want to condemn Grandpa, so we'll do it. Leave it here. I don't know, but it's impurities. You've got to go back and get rid of all that stuff and go back to what God said. And that's us today. We have to do the same thing. We've got the Bible to read, to understand, and it gives us everything we need to know how to conduct ourselves in the church, to conduct ourselves in the world. And what else is there? You're in the world, you're in the church, and you go by what it says, or either you muddy it up. That's what they did. They didn't completely. That was Judah. I know the other one, they didn't even attempt to get rid of stuff. Israel didn't. Maybe a little bit of an effort, but Judah, they did. But a lot of the kings left the high places to where they could burn incense to a false god. So that's the lessons we need to learn. How do we conduct ourselves in this congregation, in this church? How do we conduct ourselves toward God? Do we half do it? Or we do it and do it the best we can and do it wholeheartedly? That's the thing. And if we don't take another lesson from this lesson, is we need to do it 100%. Let's see what we got here. The Syrian gods. Sennacherib, is that the one that went up against Jerusalem? I think he was.
Yes.
And didn't work real good for him, did it?
Caged him in. He bragged about caging him like a bird.
He wrote it down on a clay tablet. Yeah.
But he could not beat Hezekiah because Hezekiah was smart enough to repent and
pray to God. Yep. God said it won't happen. If God said it's going to happen, you can bank on it. If God says it's not going to happen, you can bank on it. So this is Sennacherib. He was there. He was at. But I think that he's the one that they, 185,000 men died overnight. Yeah, the angel had a busy night that night. Went through there. 180. They wake up in the morning. There's 185 soldiers dead in your army. I don't know how big his army was, but that's a pretty big amount to start with. And they left. They left hard. They They knew what was going on. What do you think their mindset was when they woke up and 185,000 of their troops are laying dead? What do you think their mindset is?
Well, what was bad for him is when he left, he got his hometown and his sons killed him.
Yep. And I think they did that because he embarrassed them. I think it just, you don't get home and you're the king and all of a sudden you're assassinated, just, you messed up. So yeah, I think they realized we're fighting against their God. That's the scary part. If you're another country, if you're fighting against a foreign country in their country, trying to take over their city, their capital, their temple, and all of a sudden 185,000 people just drop dead overnight, their God's working against us, and we're leaving. We're leaving fast. Because they know. This is not something that's been done, well, it is something that's been done before. Jericho, when they went to Jericho, what did, was it Rahab? What did she say about the Israelites? When,
God was God.
well, she said we know what y'all did to Egypt. That was 40, maybe, 40 years wandering around in the wilderness, plus now they're going in. So it's not 40 years, maybe 50 years, maybe not 50 years. We know what y'all did to Egypt. We're scared. Yeah, well, you don't think Sennacherib, these rumors are still going around. We know what you've done. So yes, we're fighting against the God of the Israelites or of Judah. That would be a scary thing if you're another country trying to overtake their capital. You got to leave. What else can you do? You sit there another night and you won't have anything. So yes, that was, it was 185,000 men in one night. Jerusalem was not taken. So that's God taking care of business. Like I say, if God said it, you can bank on it. It's going to happen. Okay. Now we mentioned, who takes over from the Assyrians? What's the next country in line? I thought it was the Babylonians, but I'm not sure. It may be
Definitely.
Babylon, yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar takes over, yeah.
And they are also, we mentioned this Sunday, the Chaldeans are like part of them. Sure. I thought they were like two different countries, two different peoples, but it's like a section of the Babylonians were the Chaldeans, and they were wicked bad. They took over. They were bad. So here we are, Assyria. They've taken exile to the Israelite part, the northern tribe, 10 tribes. They're gone. They're never coming back. That's over with. That's just like somebody took an eraser and erased history. It's gone. Everything that you got 10 tribes. If they're spread all over the country there where Assyria has this, and that was what they did. They take the people out of the country they just jumped on and took over and put them wherever they wanted. How many years would it take before you don't know what tribe you're from? Wouldn't take many, because like I mentioned Sunday, the Goolsbys, Kevin and his kids, they know their grandparents. They're sitting right here. They know their great-grandparents. I don't know if they knew their great-great-grandparents. See, that's far. I can go back to my great-grandparents.
Didn't know them, but know of them.
Know of them, yeah. I knew of my great-grandparent, my grandfather. I never knew my great-grandmother on one side. But after that, that's what, 3 generations? See, grandparent, yeah, 3 generations. Now all of a sudden you don't know anything. 80 years, that's 2 generations. So it doesn't take long. Your kids don't know what tribe you're from. If you went back, what would you know to do? Am I a Levite? Am I Judah? Am I Benjamite? What am I? I don't know. Then I don't know what I can do if I went back to the temple and worshiped. That's where That's the amazing part of God. He took care of a country, disassembled them, and yet they're still a race, they're still a people, they're still Jews today, but they don't know what tribe they're from. So he's disassembled the religious part of it, but he kept a people. So there you have. They don't know. If you took all the Jews and put them over in Jerusalem today, they wouldn't know who does what, because I don't know what tribe I'm from. And if you don't know what tribe you're from, can you say, Steve, you're going to be a priest tomorrow. You're going to be the high priest. We're going to make him high priest. But he doesn't know if he's a tribe of Levites, because does that please God? You don't know. You can't do that if you don't know where you're from. He can be another 11 tribes and be okay, but if you're going to be a priest, you're going to have priests to have the temple and have worship. Who's going to be the priest? Ooh, we elect Kevin, okay?
I've got a question. I've never really thought about this, but those that were not born Jewish, but they, let's say, converted and became part of the Jewish community or whatever, like, do they just get to pick what tribe they want to be part of? Or, you know, if you marry into one, I think that's kind of, but what if you just say, I just want to be a part of y'all? Do they have to be, now I'm talking about back in the Bible time.
Yeah.
Are they able to just pick which tribe they want to be part of?
I never thought about that. It would be, we talked about that word that they use for the king that,
Proselyte?
a proselyte, yeah, they would be a proselyte. They would not be, well, they had to be the men would have to be circumcised to be under covenant. And who was we talked about? Naaman. We talked about Naaman. He didn't completely become Jewish because he never went under covenant with God, according to the Bible. So even if you became under covenant, and the men were circumcised, you're still, what tribe? I've never thought about that. You couldn't pick a tribe. They had inheritance by tribes. So they had to know who owned what because of their tribe. And how do you get any of that? If a woman married into and became a Jew by choice, proselyte, she would be in the tribe whatever she married into. But a man, I don't know. Would it be? I don't know. I've never thought about that.
Did they really, though, try to please God anyway? I mean, you were talking about putting Jews over in Jerusalem. They would do it their own way.
They're doing it today.
I'm just saying, that's what they do now. I mean, people do things the way they want to do things. Look at Herod in the time of Christ. Look at the high priest.
Look at the Pharisees, the Sadducees,
That's what I'm saying.
the scribes.
They kept what they wanted to keep.
Well, they didn't accept Jesus because that cut into their little square of action. Yes, so it's still going on today. Look around you. Look in the community we live in right today. Everybody does religion the way they want to do religion.
It's right in their own eyes.
Exactly. And that's the way they do it, and that's the way, if they all went back to Jerusalem tomorrow, they still wouldn't know who's going to be the high priest, who's going to be the priest. They can build a temple, but they can't man the thing according to what God has said. And then you're doing it your way. So, if you don't know where you're from, and I guess you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going. So, and that would be the Jewish people. So they're in a predicament. And another thing they did, the Assyrian kings took people from all these other countries and put them in Israel. And guess what became of those people the day that Christ was in town? What did they call those people? Samaritans. Now you got Samaritans. They were from Samaria, but they were also other countries, and they lived there, and they intermingled, intermarried with the Jewish people that were left there, and they became Samaritans. Now, we got a Good Samaritan story. The only one that did anything for somebody was beat up and on the side of the road, and he was a Samaritan? Well, that's where they came from. You had a Samaritan woman that Jesus talked to when he was sitting by the well, and what was the first question she asked? You being a Jew, you're talking to me? Well, it was two things, a woman and a Samaritan? Well, that doesn't happen because she's not a true Jew. And the Jews, that's just how they looked at. They're Samaritans? Nah, they're no good. They're just half Jew. That was the people that were left. The time you get 600 years later, that's who you have in Samaria, and it was Samaritans. And that was all the people that the Assyrians brought back and put in place of the Jews that they took and put in the other places. So their goose was cooked, basically. You don't know who you are. You're intermixed. You don't know nothing. You have nothing to go with until Jesus showed up. And that's part of what the Jews, the Gentiles, have done for us with the Assyrians. They gave us a mixed race of people, the Samaritans, and I guess in a sense they were Gentiles, not really a true Jew, not really a true Gentile. They were halfway just in nowhere. That's a sad way to be. You know, and the lady at the well, she said, well, our people say this place is where this is where you worship God. That goes back to Crazy Jerry. That goes back to Crazy Jerry because he said, we can do it here. Your people say it's in Jerusalem where you... And that was the difference right there. She remembered 600 years after it happened. She knows. That woman at the well, she knows. We say it's over here. You say it's over there. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah. So that's what we've got out of the Assyrians. We've lost 10 tribes. We lost 10 tribes of Israel before the Assyrians even showed up, though, because of sin. They were gone whether they liked to, whether the Assyrians showed up or not. They were lost. So the Assyrians just completed what God was going to do. So let's go through the questions right quick and we'll call this done. Who was the moon god? Sin. Number 3. Who is Tiglath-Pileser the third? Pul. It was like Pharaoh would been Tiglath-Pileser. It's a title name. And I think Pul was a kind of a nickname on the title name. It wasn't his real name. Where were the earth gods? What was that?
Can't pronounce it, but it's Choitani.
I always said number 2. Yeah. I can't say that either.
Choitani?
I don't know. But that was their earth gods. They had lunar gods or outer space gods out there in the sky, and then they had earth gods. They had it all covered. The Assyrian capital was Nineveh. And what was the main god of Nineveh? Come on, man! It all works together. Well, what was he shaped like? What was he? Fish god, exactly. And that always thought that was ironic because Jonah gets spit up by a fish, and he goes to see a capital that worships the fish god. A lot of stuff goes together there. I imagine the man showed up in town smelling like a dead fish, and they go, "Ooh, yeah."
Saw that happen, and then it's all
Yeah.
listening to Jonah.
That could have been. Okay, archaeologists, what are they? Who was that? Taylor. That's one of the guys who have dug this stuff up, and it proves what the Bible has said the whole time. Maybe the Bible proves what he dug up. I don't know. Okay. Number 6, which of the following was not true of Tiglath-Pileser? See? Died in a Sumerian, yeah, that's where he did die. Okay. What king of Judah went to war with Sennacherib? Hezekiah. Yes, and he was being besieged, so he asked, I think it was the way it went, he asked Sennacherib to come help him, didn't he? I don't think it was the other way around. And yes, and then you start making friends with enemies. I'm sorry. That's a lesson for us right here today. You start making friends with the world, and pretty soon the world will turn on you right now. How many Assyrian soldiers died in one night while besieging, technically they were getting ready to besiege Jerusalem? 185,000. That would fill up the Tampa Bay Stadium about 4 times, wouldn't it?
It filled up the Alabama Stadium twice.
Ooh, well, there's a lot of crazy people in the world, Alabama fans. Ooh, I bet I get about a hate mail from that, won't I? Okay. Who were the Anua gods? And that is the other half of you had the earth gods and you had the sky gods, I guess you'd cut it, whatever. So, okay. How many Judean cities did Sennacherib take or claim to take? 46. But he did not take one of them. Which one was that? Jerusalem. He did not take that one. And he didn't claim it either. They found the scroll, the clay tablet, and they listed the things he took, but he did not say, I took Jerusalem. Because I guess he had a city out there standing that proved him wrong.
Killed before he could make the list.
Okay, well, and his 2 sons did it. I guess you don't fail and not get any kind of problems there back home. Okay. What modern country do we most associate with ancient Assyria? Come on, been in the news here lately. Iraq? Yep. What's the other country been in the news lately? Iran? Yep. What modern city nearest to Nineveh is closest to Nineveh? That would be Mosul. Yes. How may the throne name of Assyria's king be translated? And what does that mean? I didn't write down what it means. The Syrian king's name was, well, he had several names. He had Tiglath-Pileser, he had Pul, and then he had one more, I believe, wasn't it? Wasn't it
means my trust is the heir of a son.
Yeah, that would be Pul, wouldn't it? And then wasn't there one more?
Yeah, maybe either one.
I got it wrong. I got Pika, but that was the one he defeated. So it's Pul. And means his trust, my trust is the heir of Esara, which is a goddess, one of their false gods, idols. Okay. Who was king of Israel when Tiglath-Pileser carried away the first group of captives? That's where I got it. I just had it right, but I read it wrong. Pika. Yes. That was the beginning of the end. Well, the beginning of exile. There's a whole lot of difference when you go into exile and you don't have anybody, and God's not saying you're ever coming back. And where you take and you're put in exile and God says you'll be back in 70, 80 years. A whole lot of difference. There's a little hope there. Yes. What was the date of the fall of Samaria? That would be 722. Yep. A lot of people have problems with BC because the numbers get smaller, as you get closer to AD. So, yeah, it's that way. And Tiglath started it when he was king, and his king was 745 to 727. He started it, but his Sargon is the one that finished it. Okay, and let me see, what's the day, what Old Testament prophet stood beside King Hezekiah through conflict with Assyria? Who? Okay. So that's, and who are the 4 kings of Assyria that are mentioned prominently in the Bible, and what role did each play in the Assyrian captivity? That would be the top 4, I believe, of the list on page 89. You had Tiglath-Pileser, he started it, Shalmaneser, and then you had Sargon and Sennacherib. Sargon ended it with Israel, and then Sennacherib started it with Judah. So, yes, if you're going to dishonor God and not obey His laws, you can expect problems. Maybe not in this life, for us, for sure. But even as a country, I don't know, we talked about that Sunday, about how this country here can be in trouble because of lack of God-fearing people. This is what took Israel out. It's what took Judah down, is the lack of God-fearing people that would obey God. So we can learn a lesson there, several lessons. And so that was the end of that. We will do Nebuchadnezzar Sunday, and maybe finish it up Wednesday night. There's a lot, that guy was deep. So, okay, thank you.
Bug.
Saying a word.
All right, just a couple of more things before we close out tonight. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths." I hope you guys remember my friend Oscar. He was here, I guess it's been a year ago, maybe a year and a half. roughly. He lives in Colombia. He's a preacher. He's an evangelist. Sometimes I will allow people to call me an evangelist, but not when I'm standing next to Oscar. He is a traveling preacher, and I have had the privilege of traveling with him on a few occasions, and it is really a sight to see. It is the closest thing that I can imagine in today's world that is similar to watching Paul and Luke travel. And what I mean by that is when you read the book of Acts, sometimes they're going one way and they have to change directions in that moment and go another direction. And when that happens, it's an amazing thing. Well, I guess I need to fix this. I didn't make this to where I can move on. All right. He wanted to go, and we helped him go, by the way, to Equatorial Guinea. That's really the way you pronounce it, like guinea pig. Equatorial Guinea. That's a city in Africa. Again, he lives in Colombia. To get there, you have to go up to Spain, and then to France, and then to Morocco, and then down to Malabo, which has the city of Equatorial Guinea. It is mostly Muslim people there. The reason why it's an exciting thing that we were a part of, helping him go and evangelize the area, most of the people there are Muslim, yet they speak Spanish. So when you send a brother, a preacher, an evangelist from South America there, it's a very rare opportunity. And the reason why it's the most exciting opportunity, when you go and you want to preach the gospel to Muslims in the Middle East, I mean, you really got to be super sneaky, because you will die. You convert somebody from Islam in the Middle East, they kill you. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying here, the government doesn't care. The government doesn't care what their nationality is. There's just super poor people, and I mean super poor. But they, for whatever reason, because of history, the way it played out, they ended up being Muslim because of Africa surrounding it is a lot of Muslim faith. But oddly enough, in this city, they all speak Spanish. So with a government that does not care what their religion is, and the fact that they speak Spanish is a perfect opportunity for Oscar to go in there. And so he would go in there, and he did recently go there, and he went door to door, and he rounded up people that wanted to hear the gospel. And this is a picture of him preaching to them. I guess it's in the parking lot, so to speak. We're talking about third world, okay? So this is his trip, and I just wanted to quickly read this to you. About the trip to Spain on April 13th. I flew to Spain and arrived on the 14th. The plan was to go to the embassy in Madrid the next day to apply for a visa to go to Equatorial Guinea. But I learned that the embassy was not issuing visas to foreigners, only to Spanish and Andorran citizens. So I had to apply for the visa online. My flight to Africa was scheduled for Saturday the 18th, but the visa was delayed, which forced me to change my flight date to Saturday the 25th. That's what could be terrible, okay? We wanted him to spend a lot of time in Africa, in that city, preaching to Muslim people. However, he had these complications. I had to wait a week for my visa to arrive, so I planned to visit the brothers and sisters who meet in Dos Hermanas near Seville, Spain. I spent 2 days with them and had the opportunity to preach 2 lessons. Okay. I waited all week from April 19th through April 25th, but I didn't receive the visa notification. On Monday the 20th, I saw on the news that the Pope was visiting the city of Malabo. That's where he wants to go So that delayed it as well. Everything's going wrong. The Pope is visiting where he wanted to be, right? Because of that, the whole week was declared a holiday, so there was no work at the embassy. On the 21st, I decided to travel to Basque country in northern Spain to visit 4 siblings who live there. Luis, Marcela, with their sisters Gladys and her son Farak, I guess. On Friday the 24th, I expected to receive the visa notification, but it didn't arrive. And that same night, I had to change my flight for the second time, hoping that the visa would arrive the following week. The flight was rescheduled for May 3rd. It was my last attempt. If it didn't go through this time, he would never make it. On the 25th, Saturday at noon, I received the visa notification. The whole thing is crazy, he says. During the time I was with the siblings in the Basque country, we had Bible studies at the home, of course. They had evangelists at the house. Hey, let's have a Bible study. I had the opportunity to share the gospel with Daphne, Alejandra, the daughter of Luis and Marcela, and she decided to be baptized. At that moment, I understood why God wanted me to spend all this time with the brothers and sisters here. It was because of Alejandra. She was willing to obey the gospel. And here's a picture of her. This is Oscar, obviously, right before they get into the water, making sure that she knows what she's doing. And of course, the bottom 2 pictures are her being immersed in water for the remission of sins. Even though it wasn't planned to be with them, God arranged it that way, and it was a great joy to have been able to help Sister Alejandra with her obedience to the gospel. That same day, I traveled to Madrid in the evening to fly to Equatorial Guinea to be with the brothers and sisters there for the remaining 10 days of the plan. This is a report of my time in Spain as God arranged it and according to His will. So what I'm saying is just like, this is what I saw when I went to on a travel down the Amazon with them, and when I went to, I'm drawing a blank here. What's that place with the big turtles? Can't believe I'm forgetting.
That island,
That island, yeah, but it's Galapagos. Yeah, okay. When I went there, same thing. You cannot believe it. You see, like, this is not going to work. This is a waste of time. And then you get 4 people that want to be baptized. It is amazing to watch as it goes about. And so here's a few pictures of him, going door to door in Equatorial Guinea, and he just knocks on the door and asks them if they want to do a Bible study, and he'll sit down with them and share the gospel. And some want to hear it and some don't, and he just keeps going and going and going. Well, while he's there, sure enough, there's a baptism. The guy's name is Eulodio Ricoso. I guess I'm saying that right, I don't know. But that's Oscar sharing to make sure they understand what he's doing. He wants to be baptized for the remission of sins. You repent of your sin, the whole thing, same faith. And it's just so much, it's so many things. It's inspiring, it's fun, it's beautiful to see it. And so we helped him go on this trip. And so many times people like me say the phrase gold mine. It is a gold mine, though. This is one of the times I know I'm right, because of these people are just obliviously Muslim because everybody else is. And you can just go in there and show them the fallacies of Islam, and you can show them the evidence, the validity of the true gospel, and tell them about Jesus of Nazareth. So total, there were 3 baptisms on this trip, even though everything went wrong. And that's basically what I want to say tonight. Everything can be looking like they're absolutely going wrong. And the whole time, if you trust in the Lord, and lean not to your own understanding, you trust Him, like Oscar does, you just God is in control the whole time. He's in control the whole time. So I wanted to encourage you with that. One, because we were a part of how he was able to get there with the finances. We're a part of that. We're a part of those 3 baptisms that happened, and I'm eternally grateful. And so I wanted you to know that that was a very worthy mission, even though it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. But now I'm glad it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. I'm glad it went the way God wanted it to go. And that is what I wanted to say tonight.